And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian, and we are here for yet another podcast. It's a big podcast this week, trailer-wise. Big podcast this week. Movie news-wise, we got some pretty big news items to talk about, don't get me wrong. But this week definitely feels a lot more like a big trailer week, so we're just going to get right to it because there was really no big noteworthy news items that came out after the podcast went up last week. So we're just going to dump? Well, kind of was a movie trailer dump week, but we're just going to jump right into this week's news items right off the bat because I'm going out of town this weekend, so I want to get this podcast out as soon as possible for you guys because I still have some stuff to do before I leave. So let's get right to trailer talk. The first trailer we're going to talk about is Breathe. That is the movie that will be directed by Andy Serkis, the man who does motion capture for Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies. He also did Gollum in the Lord of the Rings movies and the one Hobbit movie he was in. This will actually mark his directorial debut and is a drama based on a true story and stars Andrew Garfield as Robin Cavendish, a young man who in 1958 contracted polio and became paralyzed from the neck down, requiring a respirator to breathe for him. At the time, mobility for people and patients like this did not exist at that point. And what follows is, of course, his struggle with the disease, along with his wife Diana, played by Claire Foy in the movie, that stands by his side as the two fight for other people affected by the disease and the start of basically having patients that were affected by polio to have respirators, mobility respirators, because at the time, if you had polio and you had this kind of disease, your life was living in a hospital for the rest of your life. So this is their fight and everything, and it kind of seems like the movie will touch upon them because there's a spot a scene in the trailer that shows Robin Cavendish talking to what looks like a big group of people. The film it has already played in some film festivals and has been getting some pretty rave reviews. Overall, it looks like a really great dramatic story. I mean, not great dramatic. I mean, the movie looks great, but it's a very dramatic story. So hopefully that is the case when the film comes out. It might be an Oscar contender. It comes out next month, actually in a few weeks. It comes out on October 13th. So be on the lookout for that. The next trailer we're going to talk about is more of a teaser trailer for Peter Rabbit. Now, when you hear the name Peter Rabbit, I'm pretty sure you think of, potentially heartwarming story with a cute kid and a family that comes together at the end, or maybe something along the lines of Paddington, which I still have yet to see, but I hear that's kind of what the film is about anyway. But anyway, that's what you kind of hear, right? That's what you kind of, think of when you think of Peter Rabbit. Well, that's not what you're going to get here. Sony Pictures Animation is taking their own little take on Peter Rabbit in what is being called a contemporary comedy with attitude. I'm not kidding you, that was in the press release for the synopsis. The film follows Peter Rabbit, voiced by James Corden, and his feud with Mr. McGregor, played by Domhnall Gleeson, which escalates to new levels when both try to win the affection of a warm-hearted animal lover, played by Rose Byrne, who lives next door. The rest of the voice cast includes Margot Robbie, Elizabeth Debicki, and Daisy Ridley, voicing the triplets, as they're called in the synopsis, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail. Another person, part of the cast, is Sam Neill. I don't know if he's voicing someone or if he's playing himself, but he is part of the cast. I did not like this teaser trailer. And, I mean, granted, it's been a while since I've read a Peter Rabbit, no, very long while, since I've read a Peter Rabbit story. But the way this trailer basically, or this teaser, I should say, is basically just, it's showing Peter Rabbit, no pun intended, as a wild house party guy. And he's like, the whole teaser is basically him with a bunch of animals at Mr. McGregor's house having a party, and then when Mr. McGregor comes in, it's all messed up, and it looked like he already been going through some stuff already. So he walks in, he doesn't even really care about the mess, and then they play kind of like almost like a horror moment. One of the animals apparently hides under a sheet, and he rises, and you see the sheet rise up, and Mr. McGregor, he takes it off, and it's like this pig, and it's like 5 seconds of both of them screaming to each other, and then all the animals run out with Mr. McGregor, and obviously probably in horror. I didn't like it. I didn't like the teaser. I really didn't. This isn't what I was expecting from the Peter. I knew about this project, and I've heard about it, and then I kept seeing everyone being attached to it. I'm like, wow, this is really impressive cast. But at the time, I don't think anyone realized that it was going to be this big of a comedy aspect to it. I mean, I'm pretty sure they knew because obviously they read the script, but I don't know. Like, I hope there's more to the movie than what they showed in the teaser, because what they showed in the teaser is not doing the movie any favors whatsoever, especially for me. So maybe I'm just becoming a bitter old man. I don't know. The movie will come out on February 9th, so there's plenty of time to release another trailer, and hopefully, just hopefully, they can steer the ship just a little bit more for people in doubt. So let's move on to the next trailer. Just Getting Started. It is a comedy that stars Morgan Freeman as an upbeat and charismatic manager of a luxury resort called Villa Capri. He lives the high life until a new arrival, played by Tommy Lee Jones, starts to take away the spotlight from him. To make matters worse, Freeman's character reveals that he is in the witness protection program after testifying against the mob. The film is directed by Ron Shelton, who directed films like Tin Cup and Bull Durham, something that the trailer very bigly points out. And I don't know how to feel about this. On one end, you got Morgan Freeman, who's pretty much great in anything he does, and Tommy Lee Jones, if he doesn't phone it in, which it doesn't look like the case, at least from the trailer, then maybe this could be a nice surprise. You got a cast of Rene Russo, Joe Pantoliano, Jane Seymour, amongst many others. I don't know. Maybe it could be good. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Now, this movie has been pushed back a lot. I think this is its third move from release dates. It was supposed to come out in August. It was supposed to come out, I believe, that last week or the week before of August, and they pushed it back at the last, not the last minute, but they pushed it back once everything started moving forward. But now they're releasing it in December. I don't know. Hopefully this movie's a nice surprise. The trailer is okay. I mean, it's not that bad, but it just, I don't know. I don't know. So December 8th for Just Getting Started, if you want to mark that down on your calendars. Let's move on to the next trailer, which is the first trailer for All I See Is You, starring Blake Lively and Jason Clarke. This is a drama thriller that's directed by Mark Forrester, who directed Monsters Ball, Finding Neverland, and World War Z, for those of you guys who need a reminder on who that is. It stars Blake Lively as Gina, a woman who has been blind since childhood after an accident, and has, at least in her in her mind, obviously not her eyes because she's blind. I think I'm going to hell for that. But she has the ideal marriage to her husband, played by Jason Clarke. However, when Gina decides to get a transplant for her eyes and starts to regain her sight, she starts to see the world through her own views instead of through her husband's views, which helped her, of course, her whole life. But when her vision starts to fade just a bit, the truth about her marriage comes to light. So the movie, you would think that the movie is just like this heartwarming story at the beginning of the trailer, and then, obviously they give away in the trailer that she gets new eyes and she gets her vision back. And at that point in the trailer when it happens, everything kind of just starts turning downhill. Like, the music isn't as upbeat anymore. It looks like like I mentioned, it's a drama thriller. There's like this mystery. It almost looks like there's like a mystery behind everything. At one point in the trailer, it looks like someone's behind a curtain, so you don't know who it is. Someone's watching Gina as she has her headphones in and she's listening or watching something. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, another movie. If you want to speak about movies that got pushed back, this movie has been pushed back a few times as well. It was supposed to come out last month. I believe that last month. No, it was supposed to come out. Was it this week? I know it was supposed to come out. You know what? I think it was supposed to come out last week or the week before this week. One of these two. It was this week or last week when it was supposed to come out, and then they finally pushed it back again to its now final release date, since they released the trailer already for October. So I don't know. I mean, it looks good. The trailer is really. I mean, I like the trailer for what it is. I just think that I don't think it does a tremendous job, because it just. I mean, again, it's the trailer, so we don't get the whole story of the movie, because otherwise that'd be really dumb. But it's interesting to see, you know, that the characters of Blake Lively and Jason Clarke's characters going at it. I mean, they don't fight, but they're going at it verbally. So it's very interesting to see how. I think that's going to be the story of how they get to that point, especially from what the trailer suggests. The film also stars Ivana Stratsky. I think I said her name right. The girl from not the girl. She's obviously an adult, but the woman from Chuck, the TV series. I think it's been so long since we've seen her or anything. I just forgot to say her name. But she's in this movie. She's not in the trailer, at least from what I can remember. I think I might have to rewatch the trailer for that to see if she's in there. But she's in it. Danny Houston's in it. I think Danny Houston not playing a bad guy. Surprisingly, he plays a doctor in this movie, or maybe he is a bad guy. Oh, no. But he could be. You never know. But yeah, there you go. October 27th is when this film comes out. So if you want to mark that down on your calendar. Now, I've been very surprised by Blake Lively. I was surprised. I didn't think too much of her. I just thought that she was, that girl, that actress from Gossip Girl. And then I saw her in The Shallows, and I was like, she can act. She's given the right material. Okay. Not saying that I watched Gossip Girl, because I never watched Gossip Girl. But everything I've seen her in before that, like Green Lantern, her acting was, but then it was The Shallows that really impressed me. So hopefully this turns out to be okay. All right, let's move on to the next trailer, which is the new trailer for The Murder on the Orient Express. Based off the Agatha Christie mystery novel, the film follows famous detective Hercule Poirot, played by Kenneth Branagh, as he tries to solve the murder of one of the passengers aboard on the Orient Express. The film is also directed by Branagh and co-stars a very big and just jam-packed cast of Daisy Ridley, William Dafoe, Josh Gad, Penelope Cruz, Leslie Odom Jr., Olivia Colman, Lucy Bronson, Tom Bateman, Marwan Kenzari, Michelle Pfeiffer, Judi Dench, and Johnny Depp. So I really liked the teaser trailer for Murder on the Orient Express, because it was so simple. I mean, that shot, that little like tracking shot of what we can assume is Hercule Poirot, telling everyone that he's been Johnny Depp's character is the one that gets murdered in the movie. It's not a spoiler, it's in the trailers, and it's probably in the book too if you read the book. But he just kind of tells him, and he's just this great tracking shot of showing all the characters that we're going to see and giving like who they are, like the professor or the Duchess or the maid or the missionary, the doctor and stuff like that. So it's really cool that was a really cool teaser trailer that didn't gave you pretty much the basic. Okay, someone dies and this guy's on the train and he's figuring out who killed him. And this trailer, it's just a smidge, just a tiny little smidge all over the place. It gives you a lot more, story. It's the basic. It's still giving us the basic premise. Someone, killed Johnny Depp's character in this movie, and we actually get to see a little bit of Johnny Depp. So, I think everyone kind of assumed that Johnny Depp was just, of course, people who didn't read the book. Obviously, if you read the book, you kind of know probably what's going on, but hopefully they change it. But Johnny Depp's character, at least through the teaser trailer, it looks like maybe he'd be like a stunt cancer, like, he's just going to be in it for like a few minutes, and then he gets killed off. In this trailer, it looks like he actually interacts with a lot of people. He actually interacts with Hercule Poirot, Kenneth Branagh's character, in the trailer. So it looks like he'll definitely be around at least a little bit, probably longer than most people assume. Again, I haven't read the book. I know my mom read the book when we were on vacation not too long ago, and then my sister read it. So I got some time to read it, so maybe I will read it and see what's going on there. But this is a great cast, and the trailer, again, just a smidge all over the place. There's a lot of like sudden like shots and everything, and I just assume that it's such a contained story. It takes place just on the train that they don't want to show too much in the trailers, but it doesn't look too bad, to be honest. It really doesn't. It doesn't look too bad. So November 10th for Murder on the Orient Express. That's gonna be a long podcast, especially editing if I can't talk already. So let's move on for the new trailers. Let's move on to some of the big trailers of the week. The first one being the first trailer for Wes Anderson's stop-motion animated film Isle of Dogs.
The Japanese archipelago, 20 years in the future. Canine saturation has reached epidemic proportions. An outbreak of dog flu rips through the city of Megasaki. Mayor Kobayashi issues emergency orders, calling for a hasty quarantine. Trash Island becomes an exile colony. The Isle of Dogs.
I don't think I can stomach any more of this garbage.
Exactly.
Same here.
Words out of my mouth.
Nobody's giving up around here, and don't you forget it, ever. You're Rex. You're King. You're Duke. You're Boss. I'm Chief. We're a pack of scary, indestructible alpha dogs.
Atari Kobayashi, you heroically hijacked a junior turboprop XJ750 and flew it to the island because of your dog. Darn it. I've got a crush on you.
We get the idea. You were looking for your lost dog Spots. Does anybody know him?
No.
I've lost all of my pride.
Spots, if he's alive, may very well be living even at this moment as a captive prisoner.
Somebody is up to something. Will you help him? The little pilot.
Why should I?
Because he's a 12-year-old boy. Dogs love those.
We'll find him. Wherever he is, if he's alive, we'll find your dog.
It's gonna be a fight!
I wish somebody spoke his language. Wow.
To the north, a long rickety causeway over a noxious sludge marsh leading to a radioactive landfill polluted by toxic chemical garbage. That's our destination.
Great.
Got it.
Get ready to jump.
This will be Anderson's return to the stop-motion animated style since 2009 when he did Fantastic Mr. Fox, which if you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend you do. Fantastic Mr. Fox is great. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I will not deny that is one of my favorite movies of all time. So if you haven't watched that, I highly recommend you do. But the film takes place in the near future Japan, where an outbreak of dog attacks have occurred, and all dogs have been banished to live on a garbage-filled island, which of course gets recalled the Isle of Dogs. However, a young boy ventures into the island in search for his own dog, and comes across the pack of alpha dogs that help him, which doesn't go over well with the government. This looks great. It honestly looks really, really fantastic. And if you're a dog lover, you'll probably love this. If you're a stop motion lover, you'll love this. It honestly looks fantastic. It's got a very, very obviously Wes Anderson style to it. It looks really good. It actually looks. It also looks very. Very busy as well, because there's a lot of movement to this thing. So I can only imagine how long it took Wes Anderson to really get, down and dirty with this thing. So it looks like he was very busy with this. And also the voice cast is impressive as hell. You got Edward Norton, you got Bryan Cranston, you got Jeff Goldblum, Scarlett Johansson, F. Murray Abraham, Harvey Keitel, Greta Gerwig, Frances McDormand, Liv Schreiber, Courtney B. Vance, and Bill Murray, and a few Japanese actors as well. It looks great. It honestly looks great. I cannot wait for this. This is a movie that I was really looking forward to when Wes Anderson announced the voice cast in the first place, and I think he did this like earlier this year when he did that. So I'm really looking forward to this. Comes out next year on March 23rd. Isle of Dogs. It looks fantastic. I highly recommend you go watch this trailer because it's really, really good. All right, let's move on to the second biggest trailer of the week, which is Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle.
I found something. You gotta check this out.
Who plays board games anymore?
Yo, what's this?
Jumanji. Pick a character and you're that person in the game.
Bethany, you in?
I don't spend my life staring at a TV screen. Fine.
Oh my god!
Where's my hair?
Where's the rest of me?
Oh my god, we're in different people's bodies!
Bethany, don't look at it!
No! I'm an overweight middle-aged man. Wait a second. Where's my phone? Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. I think we've become the avatars we chose.
Welcome to Jumanji.
This is a video game, which means we each have 3 lives.
Come on, let's go.
I'm Alex.
Watch your step in here.
So gnarly. We can help each other. We all have special skills. Weakness, none.
I hate this game. Everybody else got good stuff.
Weakness? Cake.
Yes, cake is my weakness.
You're a good weapons valet.
What is that?
I think it means you carry my weapons and give them to me when I tell you to.
Don't let this new body get your butt whooped.
Ow! What the hell? We have to work together. I think it's a staring contest. Who's good at staring and not blinking? I'm amazing at it. I can't even with this place.
Welcome to the jungle. Fun and games.
We gotta go. Get on my back.
Hell no!
I'll carry you. Come on.
I would rather die.
Get on my back.
Nope, I'm gonna die. Put me down! What is this?
Pound cake. Cake? Isn't that your weakness?
Something happening to me? Am I shaking? Am I still black?
Yes.
Okay, we're fine. Everything is fine. It's all good.
The trailer, this trailer does a really better job of putting forward that this movie isn't a remake, it isn't a reboot, it isn't a, well, it kind of is a reimagining, and kind of, it's a soft reboot, but it's not a complete reboot. It is its own story, but it's taking place after the first one. It's taking place 20 years after the first film. And here it follows a group of high schoolers in detention who find the game of Jumanji, which is now a video game, probably, and the trailer kind of suggests that the video game, or that the board game found a way of becoming a video game. So I don't know how they're going to play it off in the movie, but, you know, obviously the board game is very magical and mystical, so maybe just found a way to transform itself into a video game, since, you know, there's a line in the trailer that says no one plays board games anymore. So that was kind of interesting. So, of course, they decide to play it, and when they select the avatars that they play in the game, they get transported into the game as the avatars, and of course must play the game in order to get back home. This one, you know, they still play Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses in the trailer, for those of you wondering. But this trailer, you know, it's really, I mean, I know a lot of people crapped all over this movie because it's like, oh, we don't need another reboot, even though it wasn't a reboot. We don't need another remake, even though it wasn't a remake. We don't need another sequel. We don't need a sequel to Jumanji, which is fair. That one's fair. But everyone was really just crapping all over it because I think they just assumed, like, oh, you're just, you know, Hollywood's out of ideas and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. But I was okay with it. I like the cast they have, and I think I think it could be a really fun holiday movie, because that's when it's coming out during the holidays. It's coming out around Christmas time. So I just think it's one of those movies where it's like, you know what? It doesn't have to be an Oscar-worthy movie. You know, it just be a movie that you can sit down and have fun with. And this is this is what it looks like. It looks like it could be a lot of fun. There's a lot more jokes in here. There's a lot more action in here. It just looks like a lot of fun. To be honest with you, it just looks really cool. I mean, I'm not upset about this. I won't be upset if I go watch it and it's not that great, to be honest with you. Put it that way. So the film stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kevin Hart, Karen Gillan, Jack Black, Nick Jonas, Rhys Darby, of course all the younger actors like Alex Wolff, Madison Eisman, Morgan Turner, Sir Darius Blaine, Missy Pyle's also in the movie along with Bobby Cannavale. It looks great. It looks a lot of fun. It looks fun. It looks like a lot of fun. Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle opens on December 22nd, later this year. Alright, so let's get to our final trailer of trailer talk, at least of course at the time of this recording, and we have the first trailer for Tomb Raider.
What's your name?
Laura.
Surname?
Croft. Laura, your father's gone. You can pick up where he left off. I see so much of him in you. Brilliant.
Hello, Sprout. If you're listening to this, then I must be dead. I found something. A tomb called the Mother of Death. If Trinity succeeds, our world is in danger. Promise me you will stop them.
I promise. I think I know where my dad went.
That's right in the middle of the Devil's Sea.
It will be an adventure.
Death is not an adventure.
You shouldn't have come here. But I'm glad that you did.
What do you know about my father?
Now I see the likeness, the recklessness.
Close the tomb once and for all. The fate of humanity is now in your hands.
Based on the best-selling video game series, the story follows a rebellious and independent Lara Croft, played by Alicia Vikander, as she travels to a fabled tomb on a mystical island to uncover the mystery behind her father's disappearance. In doing so, she forges her own path to future adventures, and as the trailer puts it, starts her own legend. The movie has been on a lot of people's radar since it was announced. Of course, many assumed that this would follow the usual trend of shitty video game movie adaptations, but Tomb Raider actually doesn't look too bad. It doesn't, I don't hate the trailer. I don't love the trailer, but I do really like the trailer. I do really dig the trailer. It looks pretty good. Alicia Vikander looks like a pretty good Lara Croft, or Lara Croft, however you want to pronounce it. I already forgot how she pronounced it in the trailer, but she looks great in it, and there's that cool visual of her jumping off the boat into the ocean. It looks really cool. It looks really badass. So this looks really cool. This looks pretty awesome. I can't wait to see this, and hopefully it isn't a shitty video game adaptation movie. Even if it's a pretty good, decent movie, I think it's a success, at least in my book. I know in a lot of people's book it won't be, and I know there's probably people out there already saying that, oh, Alicia Vikander doesn't have big boobs enough. Shut up. Get out of here. So, I sound very angry, but I'm okay with sounding angry on that complaint. So the rest of the movie stars Walton Goggins. I mean, come on, Walton Goggins, he's terrific. Daniel Wu and Dominic West, and yeah, so that comes out. Nick Frost is also in the movie. I don't know if he's going to be in it for a long bit, but he is in the movie as well. So Tomb Raider comes out on March 16th, 2018. So we'll have to wait just a little bit, but hopefully it'll be worth the wait. Alright, so let's move on to this week's news items. Like I said, it was really more of a trailer week this week. We do have some movie news items to get to. We do have two real big movie news items. 2, 3? Can't remember now. But we do have at least a couple big movie news items to get to you guys by the end. So let's get right to it. As the first movie news item we're going to talk about is The Croods 2 is back on, and it even gets a release date. So back in November of last year, DreamWorks Animation canceled the sequel to The Croods, and at the time, it had a release date of actually this year. It was supposed to come out in December of this year. But at the time, back in November, DreamWorks Animation was on the verge of moving to a different studio. So DreamWorks was, I believe, over at Fox, and they were going to move over to Universal, which is where they're at right now. And it put the project in question, along with a few other projects as well. And despite hiring writers and Kevin and Dan Hageman, who had a hand in writing the Lego Ninjago movie that comes out this week, and Troll Hunters over on Netflix, they eventually canceled the project anyway. So that's all changed now, as DreamWorks Animation has put the film back on its release schedule. Deadline broke the news that The Croods 2 is being worked on again, although there are no writers and directors attached at the moment. But they did give it a release date. It's still a ways off. Obviously, it's an animation movie, so it's going to take a while to get those made. But it does have a release date of September 18th, 2020. Now, the film's original voice cast of Nicolas Cage, Catherine Keener, Emma Stone, Clark Duke, Ryan Reynolds, and Cloris Leachman are expected to return, along with Leslie Mann also joining the voice cast. Obviously, story details on the movie are being kept secret. However, the original idea for the sequel, before it was canceled, was that the Croods family was going to meet a new family along the way. So there's no word if that's still the plan, or if they're changing the whole story since it's now a different studio doing it. So we'll see on that. I really like The Croods. I was actually very surprised by The Croods. I just thought it was going to be kind of just like this little dumb fun animated movie, and even though it was kind of a little bit dumb fun, it actually had a lot of heart to it. So if you haven't seen The Croods yet, I do recommend it. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix. It might be on Netflix. I know there's a animated show on Netflix of The Croods, not with any of the voice casts from the movie, but I know they're up there, so you can go look at that. I'm really excited for this because, again, like I mentioned, I really like The Croods, so I just wanted to mention that. And it's my podcast. I get to mention what news I talk about. So let's move on. We talked about Murder on the Orient Express earlier, and two of those names in Kenneth Branagh and Judi Dench are looking for a little bit of a reunion. The Disney adaptation of Artemis Fowl has Kenneth Branagh already attached, and it looks like they also want to add Judi Dench, because Judi Dench is in early talks to join the adaptation of the children's book series Artemis Fowl. The book series follows a brilliant and cunning 12-year-old criminal mastermind, as you can assume what the name is, Artemis Fowl III, whose plot to extort gold from a secret fairy people puts him directly in the crosshairs of some of the most dangerous creatures on Earth. Over the course of the series, Fowl becomes more of an anti-hero than a villain, helping the fairies to stop multiple threats. So like I mentioned, Dench will be with Branagh on Murder on the Orient Express, so maybe they had some fun working together, and Branagh was like, hey, I got this other movie being worked on, you want to come, for a few weeks and help me film this? So there's that. I personally have never read the book series. I have heard good things from it. I do know someone who's actually read those books and said they really enjoy them. So hopefully Disney does a good job with it. I mean, it already looks like they have a pretty solid start with Kenneth Branagh attached to direct and Judi Dench in talks to star. So that'd be pretty cool. Hopefully it works out soon, because they do have a release date for the movie. Artemis Fowl will come out on August 9th of 2019. Alright, let's move on to the next movie news item. Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot is in talks for the Max Landis scripted thriller Deeper with Bradley Cooper. Now, obviously, Gal Gadot is undoubtedly going to star in a lot more projects after Wonder Woman was such a tremendous hit. And now we cue to this week. MGM, the studio, MGM, is in talks with Gal Gadot to have her join the already scripted film by Max Landis, who did American Ultra and Chronicle. He had Victor Frankenstein, the one with James McAvoy and Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah. So he's writing the script for this movie called Deeper with, that again already has Bradley Cooper attached, and a Hungarian actor and director. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because I'm going to totally butcher that name. So, no, not even going to try. The film follows a disgraced astronaut, we assume is going to be Bradley Cooper, who is in a deep sea dive exploring a newly discovered trench, but soon finds himself confronted by a sinister and dangerous force. No clues to what that is, but sounds interesting. Gadot's schedule is obviously being very busy, and is going to be very busy for the foreseeable future, since she is attached to the DCEU. She has Wonder Woman 2 already lined up for a release date of December 13th, 2019. Of course, she's going to do the press junket for Justice League, and has, of course, Justice League Part 2 lined up as well. If the rumors are true, she could also appear in the Flash movie, which, of course, is called Flashpoint. But no word on when Deeper will go into production or who Gadot will play, but talent is talent, so hopefully it works out well for that. Glass will bring back 2 Unbreakable stars. So Glass, of course, the sequel to both Unbreakable and Split, is rounding out its cast, as they have added 2 stars from Unbreakable, so we got a little bit of a reunion going on. The M. Night Shyamalan directed film will bring back Spencer Treat Clark and Charlene Woodard. I think I pronounced her name right. Clark, because it's not Cheyenne, and but it's I think it's Charlene, but it's spelled differently from the way Charlene is usually spelled. So I think it's Charlene. So anyway, Clark, he played Bruce Willis's son in Unbreakable, and Woodard played Samuel Jackson's mother. So they will both be returning for Glass. Of course, Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson will, of course, return to play their characters from Unbreakable, as will Anya Taylor-Joy and James McAvoy, reprising their roles from Split. This is being described as a comic book thriller, even though it's not actually based on a comic book, but that is what they're describing the film as. The film will see Willis's return as David Dunn, who has superpowers, hunting down McAvoy's Kevin Wendell Crumb with all his multiple personalities, including the dangerous creature known as the Beast. The two will have escalating encounters while the shadowy presence of Elijah Price, aka Mr. Glass, played by Samuel L. Jackson, emerges as an orchestrator who holds the secrets critical to both men. What does that mean? I don't know, but hopefully it's really good, because the setup for this movie at the end of Split was really, really good. So the film is in pre-production. Apparently, it's gonna start filming this month. Don't know when, but it's gonna start filming this month, and it does have a release date of January 18th, 2019. So we have those cast members, and Sarah Paulson is also going to be a part of the cast. No word yet on who she's playing, but whoever she ends up playing, it's probably going to be really cool, and she's going to knock it out of the park. I cannot wait for this movie. Like I mentioned, the setup for this movie at the end of Split was so good. It was so unexpected. It's probably one of Shyamalan's best twists that he's done, and now he's kind of hopefully he doesn't. And this is the other thing: is like, everyone was like on M. Night Shyamalan for being this terrible director because all his movies were just pure crap now. But then he does The Visit, which wasn't all that great, but it wasn't bad either. It wasn't the typical kind of Shyamalan movie where we're like, but it was still good. And then he does Split, and everyone's like, oh, Shyamalan's back. And then that ending was like, oh man, it's gonna be awesome. So I really hope that this movie's good, because if it isn't, it's gonna be really disappointing, and I don't think that Shyamalan will be able to recover if he does this, to be honest. So we'll see what happens. I'm really excited for that, and bringing back Willis's character's son in the movie I think that's pretty cool, because I think he's, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've seen Unbreakable, but I think he's the first one to discover that he has superpowers. I could be wrong about that, but that sounds right in my head for some reason. We'll see. Obviously, I have to go back and watch it, but yeah. All right, that sounds all right. That's the end of the news item. So let's move on to the next one. Tom Hanks is set to star in the Man Called Ove remake. The popular Swedish film is getting an American remake with one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, Tom Hanks. Hanks will produce the film as well, although there's no director attached at the moment. The film itself was nominated for 2 Academy Awards and was the highest-grossing foreign language film in the United States last year. So that's pretty impressive. The film is based off the debut novel of Frederick Backman's novel from 2012, which hit number 1 on the New York Times best-selling list and remained on the list for 77 weeks. And it has been translated to 43 different languages. So it's a pretty big deal. Hanks will play the lead, a grumpy widower whose overall unhappiness is exacerbated when he is unceremoniously dumped as the chairman of the neighborhood association where he lives. Pushed into retirement in his job on top of all else, Ovi gives up and resolves to commit suicide. Every attempt is interrupted, however, by some circumstance that leads him to help a needy neighbor. Throughout this, Ovi develops a new relationship that leads him on an unusual journey of introspection and caring for others, even if he never gives up on his attempts to end it all. No word yet on when the film will go into production, but you got Tom Hanks set to star. You got him producing the movie. It's one of the, like I mentioned, it was one of the most highest-grossing foreign language films last year. It was nominated for 2 Oscars. I'm pretty sure we'll be hearing about this movie at least in the next couple of years when people start coming in and when the director comes in. I would not be surprised if this movie has a director by the end of the year. I will not be surprised, or at least in the next few months. All right, let's move on to the next movie news item. Matt Damon is set to star in Charlatan. Matt Damon has 2 big films coming out soon in Suburbicon, which we'll talk about when that comes out. It comes out next month, I believe. And Downsizing, which I believe comes out in December. But now he has another big film lined up in Charlatan. The film is based on the real-life 20th century doctor John R. Brinkley, who conned his patients into thinking that he discovered the cure for impotence. I am not kidding. The film is based on the best-selling 2008 nonfiction book called Charlatan, America's Most Dangerous Huckster, The Man Who Pursued Him, and the Age of Fim-Flam by Pope Brock. Berkeley started up a clinic in Kansas in 1918 with the promise of restoring male virility, among, of course, other ailments, using a quack surgery involving, I'm not kidding, the implantation of goat testicles. The scheme quickly made him rich until he was accused in court of the deaths of several of his patients from botched procedures. It's crazy. I mean, some of the other stuff that I read about him too was just, it's like, how did he get away with this? But yeah, the film will be written by Brian Kopelman and David Levine, who have written Ocean's 13 and Showtime's hit series Billions. This will also be a reunion of sorts, as Damon will work with Kimberly Stewart, who was a fellow producer on Manchester by the Sea. No word yet on when the film will go into production, but like I mentioned, Matt Damon's attached to star and produce the film, so let's move on to the 2 biggest movie news items of the day, and holy crap, are they big movie news items. So the first big movie news item of the day is Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi is eyed to direct Akira. The live-action adaptation of Akira might be alive again. Yay? Nay? I don't know. Warner Brothers is hoping, or at least hoping and hopping on the Taika Waititi. I just like saying his name. Taika Waititi's train, as word has come out that the director is in negotiations to direct the long, and I do mean long, in the works adaptation of the live-action Akira movie. The project has come really close a lot of times, more than once, and that's why I'm like, maybe, yay. Directors like the Hughes brothers, who directed Book of Eli, Jaime Collet-Serra, who just directed the Shallows, were all attached at certain points and made it so far into pre-production and even like weeks before actual principal photography was about to start. They just yanked the plug at the last minute. Actors were even attached to a lot of these different productions at the time. Dan DeHaan, Michael Pitts, Garrett Hudlin, Kristen Stewart, Toby Kibble, Helena Bonham Carter, and Ken Watanabe were all either eyed or attached at some point when this project was in the works. So, for those of you guys who don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, the property is based off a cult classic and major name in anime of the same name. It's called Akira. The story takes place in a rebuilt New Manhattan, where the leader of a biker gang saves his friend from a medical experiment. That's the basic bare bones of the story. I'm only saying that because I think this is something that you guys should watch. If you go up to someone who loves anime and you say, like, what are your top 3 or top 5 anime movies you think I should watch, I would hope that at least some of them or that one person would mention Akira, because Akira is one of those movies that is was so groundbreaking at the time, and it was one of those movies where everyone who was into anime or who even weren't into anime knew about Akira. So if you haven't watched it, I do recommend you watch. It's actually been a while since I watched it. I watched it for the first time, I want to say 6 years ago. That was the first time I watched it. And it's been a while and then this news comes up, and I just I want to go back and watch it again, because I just want to just refresh my memory on a lot of stuff. But it is one of those quintessential anime properties that you should watch, or you should read, because it's based off a manga as well. It was a graphic novel, a manga, a multiple part manga as well. So anyway, the plan for the film, I don't know if this is still the plan, but at the time it was to make 2 movies, with each covering 3 books of the graphic novel series. So like I mentioned, there's no word yet on that, if that will actually happen. The wording in the reports, and all these reports makes it sound like that is the plan, or there were some reports that said that was the plan. So there's I don't know if there was the wording of the reports that I read, because I read multiple reports on this just to be sure. But yeah, so there's some wording out there that says that the plan was to make 2 movies, or the plan is to make 2 movies. So just keep an eye on that. So there is that, and I like Waititi as a director. I can't wait to see what he does with Thor Ragnarok. I loved his film Hunt for the Wilder People last year. I think it was one of the best films that came out last year. If you haven't watched that, highly recommend you watch it. I know a lot of people mention What We Do in the Shadows. I thought it was okay. I mean, it was good. I really liked it. But if I'm gonna be honest and say what movie I liked more, it was Hunt for Wilder People. But What We Do in the Shadows is really great as well. Of course, he had a hand in the In-Betweeners show and Fly of the Conchords. So he's one of these directors that is he's one of those directors where it's just people know who he is, but he hasn't gotten his shot yet. And I think with Thor Ragnarok, people are really going to finally see what he's capable of as a director. The thing with these movies, though, that he's done so far is they've all been comedies. And Akira doesn't lend itself to be Akira is a very serious story, so I think he's capable of doing it, but I just think that it would be a very interesting move. And on one hand, I want him to kind of do it. I want him to just branch out and do more projects. On the other hand, though, I don't want them to attach Waititi to the project and have him attached for a while and then just pull the plug again. Because that wouldn't be fair to him, because he can go off and do other projects. He already has another project lined up, which is a World War II dramedy called Jojo Rabbit that he actually wrote and is going to start filming next year in the spring. So if they do Akira, they'll probably have to wait until after he does that. And then he's going to start going to work on Akira. So Akira will probably be his next project if he does sign on to do it. And I know Warner Brothers has been very keen on it. They want to make it a big priority for the studio, which is weird because the last 2 times they've had it as a priority, they yanked the project from these directors at the last minute. So I don't know what's going on over there. Like I mentioned, it's been in the works for a long time. They've had 2 directors attached already, although the Hughes brothers are 2 people, but essentially they had 2 directors attached, 2 different directors or duo or whatever, or 3 different directors if you want to put it that way. But they've had people attached on the director side, on the actor side, and it's infuriating at one end, because it's you have this very talented director who's going to potentially direct this project they've been trying to get off the ground for years, but knowing the history of the project and what the studio wants to do, and what the studio has already, not wants to do, but what the studio has done, it's really infuriating because, like, okay, he gets attached and they pull in the last second. They just took away Taika Waititi's like 2 years or a year of his, of his time to do a project that they're just gonna cancel. So I don't know. Part of me kind of wants Akira, part of me doesn't. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Let's move on to the biggest movie news item of the week, which is literally one of the biggest what the fuck is going on movie news items of the week. Linda Hamilton is returning to the Terminator franchise.
Say what?
After 25 years, Linda Hamilton is returning to the Terminator franchise, and what will be a reunion, because franchise creator James Cameron will return to the franchise as a producer, and of course Arnold Schwarzenegger will once again return as the Terminator for the film. Now, Cameron made the announcement at the event that we mentioned last week when it was confirmed, quote unquote. It seemed like he confirmed it at the event as well, that Tim Miller would be directing the project, the director of Deadpool. So it was at this event where they screened Terminator 2 Judgment Day, saying, quote, as meaningful as she was to the gender and the action stars everywhere back then, it's going to make a huge statement to have that seasoned warrior that she has become return. He then went on to say, quote, there are 50-year-old, 60-year-old guys out there killing bad guys, but there isn't an example of that for women, end quote. So there you go. And of course, all this comes right after he pretty much bashed over Wonder Woman, saying that Wonder Woman was a step backwards and the character of Wonder Woman was not as great as Sarah Connor. Even though they're two very different characters, but whatever. We talked about that. We're not going to talk about that again. He also confirmed at that screening that Tim Miller will direct the movie, and that Cameron that himself he will produce the movie, basically marking his return to the franchise in a more hands-on approach, because he wasn't really involved in the Terminator movies since Judgment Day. He handed off the reins to I forgot who directed Rise of the Machines, but he handed off the reins to that person. Terminator Salvation and Terminator Genesis, or Genesis, whatever you want to call it. He didn't really have any hand in that. I mean, I'm pretty sure they asked him what they thought about it, but he was just kind of on the outside, kind of looking in. So this marks his return to the franchise, really in a more hands-on approach. So Cameron also created the story along with Miller, who both of them created a writer's room to hammer out, as the report puts it, what is planned to be a trilogy that can stand as single movies or form an overarching story, end quote. The people in the room are David Goyer, who had a hand in writing at least coming up with a story for the Nolan Batman movies. He also wrote Man of Steel. Charles Egley, who has had a hand in writing a lot of TV series like Dark Angel, The Shield, Dexter, and Hemlock Grove. And Josh Friedman, who wrote the Steven Spielberg adaptation of War of the Worlds, but he also was the creator and one of the showrunners on the Terminator TV spin-off, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which is kind of cool because obviously that Sarah Connor is back in the franchise. But details on the script are being kept very low, but it looks like the movie will be a direct sequel to Judgment Day, so we can assume that they're ignoring the events of Rise of the Machines and Genesis. Salvation was kind of its own little thing, so I don't think it's kind of its own little thing, so I don't know if they're going to ignore it or they're not even going to mention it. I mean, Genesis didn't even mention Salvation, so there is that. So the new film from the report will also be seen as a passing of the torch film to a new generation of characters. Cameron said this, saying, we're starting a search for an 18-something woman to be the new centerpiece of the new story. We still full time. We will have characters from the future and the present. There will be mostly new characters, but we'll have Arnold and Linda's characters to anchor it. So there you go. Linda Hamilton coming back to play Sarah Connor. I don't know how to feel about this. Because on one hand, fuck yes, Linda Hamilton is back in the Terminator franchise, playing Sarah Connor, no matter what you say, Sarah Connor is and to this day, one of the most badass female characters in film, right up there with Ripley. And part of me would love to see her come back and just whoop a bunch of ass. The other part of me, the more concerned part of me, feels that this is just stunt casting. I love Linda Hamilton, and she can probably still kick my ass at her age. But part of me feels like this is stunt casting. Like, this is just a way to be like, hey, we're making a brand new story. You know, we're ignoring Genesis. We're ignoring Rise of the Machines. This is a direct sequel to Terminator 2, one of the greatest action movies. This is my opinion, by the way. One of the greatest action movies ever made, and the last good Terminator film in a lot of people's eyes. This is a direct sequel to that, because we're bringing back Cameron as producer. We're bringing in a director, Tim Miller, who has only directed Deadpool, but he only attaches himself to things that he feels very strongly of and that he's a fan of. We're bringing back Arnold, and we're bringing back Sarah fucking Connor, Linda Hamilton. That is what we're doing. This is going to be a new trilogy. It's going to be a brand new story. We're ignoring the already rebooted timeline we did in Genesis. We're bringing them all back. This is going to be what you guys love. This is going to be, you know, a continuation of what you guys love is what I meant to say. But saying that, it almost like, you know, it's like, but at the same time, it's like, hey, this is what you guys love. So ignore what we did before because we know you guys hated it. I don't know. I want to be excited. I'm going to remain optimistic, slightly optimistic at that. All right, filming is expected and aiming to start next year in March. We don't know anything about a script. It looks like they just created the writer's room, or maybe the writer's room was already made. So maybe we'll be hearing about a script sometime soon and hearing about more actors being attached. We'll see. I mean, if they're bringing back Linda Hamilton, maybe they'll bring back, I already forgot his name, the kid who played John Connor in Terminator 2. I doubt it, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Or maybe it'll be a little twist, like, all right, we're bringing back Sarah Connor, but we're going to switch things up, because in Terminator 3, obviously, Sarah Connor had already passed away, because Linda Hamilton didn't want to come back for part 3, so like, oh, okay, we'll just kill her off screen, of all things, which is probably where that movie went downhill. But maybe they'll switch things around, be like, maybe John Connor's dead, although that wouldn't make any sense. I said it, and then I thought about it, I was like, no, that wouldn't make any sense. We'll see what happens. Again, slightly optimistic, but at the same time, it's like, oh, I think you guys are just doing this to, you know, get us talking about something else. We'll see. All right, guys. So that is all the movie news that has come out, all the big movie news items that has come out throughout the week that I thought were noteworthy. Obviously, there are a lot of movie news items on the Facebook page that we don't talk about here on the Movie Pit, here on the Movie Pit podcast. So if you want to go like the Movie Pit Facebook page, you can. There's a link down below in the description/show notes area. Also, while you're down there, you can guys go check out all the links to the trailers and all the links to all the other stuff. My Instagram and Twitter handles are down there, so if you want to go check those out and want to follow me over on the social medias, you can. Also, my WordPress is down there where I do all my non-spoiler written reviews for movies. The pitch is going to be pretty dark this week. Again, I'm going out of town this weekend, so there will be no reviews for Kingsman: The Golden Circle or the Lego Ninjago movie, so just be aware of that. What else is down there? Oh, there's a few links down there to some stuff we didn't talk about, movie news stories that we didn't talk about that I didn't even put on the page. So there you go. You get exclusive if you listen to the podcast. That's why you should listen every week. So there's some stuff down there. There's a story and an update to a Mel Gibson movie that has yet to be released. There's some drama going on there, so there's a link down there to that if you want to go check it out. There's also a link down there to Darren Aronofsky's response to Mother. Mother got a historic making F on one of not Rotten Tomatoes, the other one, Cinema Score, something like that. I already got the name of the place, but it's it got an F, and it's very rare that movies get Fs on there. So it's that one isn't like necessarily Rotten Tomatoes. That actually factors in people's opinions as well. So there is that up there, and he gives a great response to it. I have yet to see Mother, and that's only because I've been so busy with everything else, and it doesn't look like I'll get to watch it before I leave. I'm recording this the day before I leave, but I'm recording this on Thursday. It'll be up on Friday. So yeah, I haven't got a chance to watch it. I don't know if I'll get to watch it out there, or that'll probably be the first thing I do when I come back home the following week. But yeah, Mother's not doing so well in the box office. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people were fooled by it, by the movie, saying that they were promised one thing and they got something else. I have yet to see it. I've also thankfully have not gotten spoiled, so we'll see. Obviously, I'll make my own opinion. You should make your own. You should make your own as well. If you had some intention of seeing Mother, don't listen to the word of mouth, because sometimes the word of mouth isn't the best. So there is that. Also, there is a report down there that Paramount is apparently a little peeved at J.J. Abrams and Disney because Abrams went off to go direct Star Wars Episode 9, and J.J. Abrams, by the way, has a deal with Paramount where he will direct their movies. So they're a little peeved at Disney and Abrams for him going off to direct Star Wars Episode 9. By the way, not the first time, because they were a little peeved that he went to go off to direct The Force Awakens as well. So there's that. So there's links to that down below if you want to go check that. And if anything else pops up, obviously by the time I'm done recording and by the time this goes up, I'll put them down there as well. So you guys can go check those out. Alright, let's move on to this week's releases. This week's also a pretty packed week, by the way. So this is a good week for movies if you haven't, if you're dying to watch something new, or if you haven't watched anything, it's going to be even busier for you guys. So, the big noteworthy limited releases this week, we have Woodshock. A woman falls deeper into paranoia after taking a deadly drug. That movie stars Kirsten Dunst, Joe Cole, Pilo Asbeek, and Lorla Linklater. That movie is done by A24. It looks, I don't want to say it looks trippy. It just looks really weird. Put it that way. It looks weirdly interesting. Put it that way. This is a limited release, but it got a limited release last week. I forgot to mention this. I guess it kind of got past me. But it's getting an expansion release this week. It's still a limited release. It's not being released in a lot of theaters, so that's why I'm putting it under here. It's called Brad's Status. The movie is about a father takes his son on tour colleges on the East Coast and meets up with an old friend who makes him feel inferior about his life choices. The film stars Ben Stiller, Austin Abrams, Jenna Fisher, Jermaine Clement, Luke Wilson, and Michael Sheen. Apparently this movie's really good. And this is a movie that just, there are movies sometimes just get right past me and go fly under the radar until I start seeing people's word of mouths and stuff like that. This one was one of them. Apparently it's very good. Again, it's getting a expansion release, so if you get a chance to watch it, watch it. And if I haven't seen it by then, let me know what you guys thought about it. So the next limited release is Victoria and Abdul, based off the book, I believe of the same name. Queen Victoria strikes up an unlikely friendship with a young Indian clerk named Abdul. The film stars Judi Dench. This is kind of the Judi Dench podcast a little bit. Stars Judi Dench, Ali Fazal, Eddie Izzard, Olivia Williams, and Michael Gambon. I've seen the trailer. I've seen the trailer a lot actually in theaters. It's Judi Dench. You know, she's great in it. It's not one of those movies that kind of just, just screams to me like, hey, come watch me, but it'll probably be very good. That's my personal opinion. So the next limited release is Stronger, based on the book of the same name by Jeff Bauman. I think that's how you say his last name. A victim of the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013, helps the police track down the killers while struggling to recover from the devastating trauma. The film stars Jake Gyllenhaal as the man who wrote the book. This is actually based off a real person. Tatiana Maslany from Orphan Black, Clancy Brown, and Miranda Richardson. This movie is supposed to be very, very good. And I saw the trailer when it first came out, and I thought this looked amazing. I'm kind of surprised it's getting a limited release, especially considering that this movie has been getting amazing reviews. People are saying that this is probably Jake Gyllenhaal's best performance yet, so be on the lookout for that. Tatiana Maslany, obviously from Orphan Black. I was a huge fan. The show just ended, I believe, last month. I can't remember when I saw the season finale later than when it appeared, so I'm kind of mixed up on that. But she's great. She's always great in everything the things she does. So and like I mentioned, Jake Gyllenhaal is getting a lot of praise for this movie. So if you can, go check it out. again, it's getting a limited release. It'll probably get an expansion release once people start realizing, hey, this is a good movie. Why don't you play it in your theater? So wait for that. The last limited release we have is Battle of the Sexes, the true story of the 1973 tennis match between world number 1 Billie Jean King and ex-champ and serial hustler Bobby Riggs. The film stars Emma Stone, Steve Carell, Elizabeth Shue, Andrea Riseborough, Sarah Silverman, Jessica McNamee, Austin Stowell, and Alan Cumming. This looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I was when I first read about the project, I was like, it's gonna be one of those movies. I'm just and then I saw the trailer, and it looked pretty good. Steve Carell is playing a very unlikable person in Bobby Riggs, and even from the trailer, you can just tell. Like I didn't know anything. I don't know anything. I knew who Billie Jean King was. I didn't know who Bobby Riggs was. And then just watching the trailer and finding out that this was kind of how he was in real life, it was just like, oh wow, this guy's a dick. But you got Steve Carell playing him, so it should be interesting to kind of see how that works out. This is getting one of the bigger limited releases, so be on the lookout for that if it's playing in your area. All right, let's get to the wide releases of the week. The first wide release we're going to talk about is Friend Request. When a college student unfriends a mysterious girl online, she finds herself fighting a demonic presence that wants to make her lonely by killing her closest friends. The film is pretty much filled with unknowns. One of the bigger names in the cast is Alicia Debnam-Carey from Fear of the Walking Dead, the AMC show. So this movie was, I'm pretty sure I saw this movie last year. It was supposed to come out last year, and I think it was called something else at the time. I kind of feel like this movie was reshot, because I remember watching the trailer, like I mentioned, last year or 2 years ago, and seeing the trailer and seeing this new trailer for now that it's coming out again, or now it's finally coming out for the first time. It feels like two completely different movies. So I don't know if they went back and reshot a lot of things, or they're just using different material to sell the movie. I don't know. It's one of those movies where I'm just like, I guess so. Maybe I'll go watch it. I mean, if anything, I'm gonna go watch this movie because of Alicia Debnam-Carey, because she is one of she's just to sound like the typical guy out there. She's probably one of the most beautiful women in the world. That'd probably be the only reason I go watch them. I mean, the movie looks. I mean, there's a few cool shots in the trailer, so it's just gonna be one of those movies where I'm like, I'm not gonna go rush out to watch it. This is gonna be a movie I'll watch like in the middle of the week. So I'll put it that way. It's a movie I'm gonna watch in the middle of the week. All right, so let's move on to the other big wide release of the week, the Lego Ninjago movie, based off the TV series. Although it has nothing to do with the TV series. There is a TV series. This has nothing to do with it. 6 young ninjas, Lloyd or Lloyd, depending on who you ask in the movie, Jay, Kai, Cole, Zane, and Naya, are tasked with defending their island home called Ninjago. By night, they are gifted warriors using their skills and awesome fleet of vehicles to fight villains and monsters. By day, they are ordinary teenagers struggling against their greatest enemy, high school. The voice cast includes Dave Franco, Kumail Nanjiani, Michael Pena, Zach Woods, Abby Jacobson, Fred Armisen, Olivia Munn, Justin Theroux, and Jackie Chan. This movie looks great. I think Warner Brothers has struck oil and have found their new tentpole franchise with the Lego movies. The Lego movie was awesome. The Lego Batman movie was awesome. This looks like they're going to be 3 for 3. This looks great. I've loved every trailer they have released, and I cannot wait for this. I honestly cannot wait for it. I am definitely making time to go watch this on vacation. So put it that way. I'm definitely taking time to watch them. This was great. I can't say much about it because it looks great. So let's move on to the next wide release, which I'm also really looking forward toward. Kingsman: The Golden Circle. When their headquarters are destroyed and the world is held hostage, the Kingsmen's journey leads them to discovery of an allied spy organization in the U.S. These two elite secret organizations must band together to defeat a common enemy. The film stars Taron Egerton, Mark Strong, Channing Tatum, Halle Berry, Pedro Pascal, Julianne Moore, Jeff Bridges, and Colin Firth. I'm looking forward to this. I was very, very surprised by the first Kingsman. Just blown away by it. And when I found out they were doing a sequel, I think everyone was kind of like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. And then Colin Firth was confirmed to come back, and everyone was like, what the fuck? How is he coming back? And I like the trailers aren't saying it. He's just kind of there. He's like, yeah, what's up, guys? I'm here. Yeah, it's all right. I want them to make it make sense in the movie, because I mean, yes, it's based off a comic. Yes, this is an over-the-top franchise, but I still want it to make sense. I'm happy that Colin Firth's back, because I think he was one of the surprising aspects of Kingsman. And that church scene is just, in the first Kingsman, is just fucking awesome. But I'm really looking forward to this. I know there's some people, I know some reviews have been coming out, and it's been getting some mixed reviews, but I'm really looking forward to this. I want to go watch it. I'll probably make time to go watch this too on my vacation. It's not really a vacation, it's just more of a getaway. But I keep calling it vacation. It's a getaway, because I just went on vacation. Because I'm only going away for the weekend. But yeah, this is going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to this. So, once again, your movies that are coming out this week: Kingsman, The Golden Circle, the Lego Ninjago movie, and Friend Request. Those are your wide releases. Your limited releases are Woodshock, Brad's Status, Victoria and Abdul, Stronger, and Battle of the Sexes. So you got a busy week this week, guys. So the box office predictions, I was wrong. I admitted last week that I might be wrong. I think, I started hearing the word of mouth from Mother, and I thought, I think maybe that was going to play a factor, and it did, because my predictions last week were It at number 1, Mother at number 2, American Assassin at number 3, Home Again at number 4, and The Hitman's Bodyguard at number 5. I got all the movies right, got the order wrong. So the actual box office was It at number 1, which it had a 50% drop off, but it still made like $50 million, like $60 million, something like that, which was, it's still like, I think that's a record in itself. The fact that the movie dropped off like 50% in its second week, and it still made like $50-60 million, which is what a movie usually makes its first weekend. So that's pretty crazy. So it continues its massive success at the box office. But it was number 1 at the box office. American Assassin pulled in over Mother at number 2, even though it still wasn't a very high ranking. I don't even think it broke the 20s. I think it was in the teens. I could be wrong about that. Mother was number 3 with, I believe that didn't even break the double digits. I think that was a single digit box office return. Home Again was number 4, and The Hitman's Bodyguard was number 5. So this week's going to be a little different because we got 2 real big movies. The Friend Request hasn't gotten a lot of promotion, at least in my area. So, and it's not the same. It doesn't have the same theater count as the Lego Ninjago movie or Kingsman: The Golden Circle. So that will play a factor definitely for sure. So my box office predictions this week, I think the Lego Ninjago movie will be number 1 at the box office. Kingsman will be number 2. I think it will be a close battle, but the Lego Ninjago movie will definitely win out because it is a kids movie, it's a Lego movie, and it's got ninjas. Let's face it. Anything with ninjas is going to be number 1 at the box office. So the Lego Ninjago movie at number 1, Kingsman: The Golden Circle at number 2. I think it will finally fall down in the box office to number 3. Mother will stay in the top 5, but I think it'll probably be number 4. I think I saw a TV spot the other day where they were like, Mother's, they show like the good stuff, and they'll be like, but it's not for everyone, and they show like some blurb where it was like Mother is like completely insane, or like in a bad way. So they're embracing the fact, and I like the fact that Paramount is standing behind Mother. They're not, because any other time they'd be like, yeah, we're writing this one off as a tax break or something like that. They're standing by it, and so is Aronofsky, and so is Jennifer Lawrence. So they're standing by it. And again, I'm not going to trash it until I see it. So there you go. So Mother will be number 4, and Home Again will be number 5. If anything, Mother and Home Again will probably switch spots at 4 and 5. But my locked-in picks: the Lego Ninjago movie number 1, Kingsman: The Golden Circle number 2, It at number 3, Mother at number 4, and Home Again at number 5. But I would not be surprised if Home Again and Mother switch positions in the top 5 box office. I do think Friend Request will be in the top 10. It'll probably be somewhere like 7 or 8. Probably. We'll find out about that. Alright guys, that is the podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. I don't know how this podcast is going to come together. I've been interrupted a lot. I've been having some mic issues. So editing wise, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. But again, you guys will see the end result of it. So I don't know how long this podcast will be, probably around the usual time. But thank you guys so much for sticking by and listening to the podcast. I really enjoy you guys when you come in and take a listen. So wherever you are listening, be sure to leave me some responses. Whether you're listening on YouTube, leave me a comment or send me a message. If you're listening on SoundCloud, comments or message. If you're listening on iTunes, please leave me a review, a rating, and subscribe. It really helps me out in the long run. You guys, you have no idea how much it helps me out. I've been on iTunes now for I don't know how long I've been on iTunes. I've been on iTunes for like a few months now, and yeah, I just hopefully if YouTube or SoundCloud are too inconvenient for you guys, you can always listen on iTunes. So yeah, go leave me a rating, review, subscribe, and if you're listening on SoundCloud or YouTube, do the same as well. So thank you guys so much for listening. It has been a packed week, so once again, thank you. And I will see you guys next week for another edition of the podcast. Like I said, the WordPress account is going to be a little dead this weekend because I will be out of town, but I won't have I'll have internet access, but I won't have access to my computer because I'm not taking my computer with me. So and the Facebook page will also be be going a little quiet until Wednesday. So I'll update you guys. I'll update the Facebook page by Wednesday. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. Really appreciate it. Go check out the links in the description/show notes area. I appreciate all you guys for listening and continuing support for the podcast. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much for listening. Stay safe and have a great weekend this week. And as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!